gonna have to learn someday. You're gonna have to do better, okay?
Listen, this theory has never steered me wrong. I'll just say that. This book right here. Tiffany, 5 stars once more. Hey y'all, so long time no see, I'm aware, and slightly embarrassed, but hello, this is believe it or not, this is my Thrillathon vlog. Yes, I'm aware that by the time this is posted, it will have been over a month since Thrillathon ended, but I have great footage from then, and I did want to share it with you all because I do love Thrillathon, and just not having a vlog for it just makes me sad. I actually don't know how good the clips are, considering I never filmed an outro for it, which is actually what I'm doing here now, except for the fact that what you're seeing is the intro to this vlog, because I just realized that it has, by the time this will be uploaded, it will be over a month since Thrillathon, and I did want to just give a quick update as to where I've been and what's going on. Basically, the end of the year is always really challenging for me, like just with my job, wrapping up things before the year ends, and like you may have noticed, because this is a vlog from freaking October being my birthday month, my mom's birthday month, it's like the end of birthdays in my family, really, for the most part. And then November, Thanksgiving and more family time. Then December, Christmas, and it will be my grandma's birthday, and also our first birthday of hers without her. And so part of me is just trying to preserve my own mental health and preparing for having to go through that and having to go through Christmas again, and just trying to preserve my own well-being, which has honestly just left me very tired. And a lot of that energy that I would have been putting into editing or even reading, I've just been putting into preserving my mental health, sleeping. Like, I'm just exhausted. I'll just sleep. So yeah, that's really where I've been. Fret not, I'm really envisioning next year being a complete do-over for me and really getting back on a schedule when it comes to filming and uploading. Yeah, I'm so excited for that to happen. I'm ready for December to happen, because that's when a lot of my planning for next year will be taking place, planning and preparing, so that we have a lot less just windows of times where I'm not there, or here rather. So I'm excited to finally get started on that and to finally edit this vlog so that I can film other content, because one thing about me, when I don't edit, I don't film, because I know that that's just adding more that I need to edit. So yeah, I'm very excited to get this vlog done. During Thrillathon, I read a lot of lovely books, 5 books in total, which I was not expecting going into it. But I did it, and I'm very proud of myself. So why don't you go ahead and watch these clips, and then I will be back at the end to wrap things up.
I know you can see the little top part of the mic. Ignore that. It won't always be like this. I am moving some things for my table to be sitting right here, or maybe on this side. Doesn't matter. There will be a table closer to me, but for now, it's on my lap. Sorry if that's annoying you, that you can see it. Don't worry, I will be very quick. Hello, welcome to the start of a new vlog. Not only a new vlog, but the start of Thrillathon. This is my Thrillathon vlog. I am so excited because it's here. It is the first day of Thrillathon. It is Monday now, and we are off on a bang, okay? We started off with a bang with sprints on Lucy's channel. It was me, her, and Kelsey, and it was so much fun. And I feel like I have gotten the most reading done that I have in quite a while. I always feel the most productive during sprints. I feel like I can read the most, and it is just so great. So that was just like a really great start. I started off the readathon with A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. It's right there, but I've already sat down, so I'm not getting back up. I even put the dust jacket back on it. Like, that's gonna help my vision. But yeah, I have started A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I had started this a little bit on Saturday, or was it Friday? I think it was Friday night, actually. So I misspoke on the live and during my last vlog. But I did start it last week and then hadn't read anything since then, and had only made it to like chapter 2. So, and I didn't even finish chapter 2 because I started during the sprints and I was midway through a chapter. Who am I? But I am reading A Touch of Darkness. I am about 120 pages in so far, and I am enjoying it. But what really inspired me to want to read this story is reading Lore Olympus, honestly. I just love that Hades and Persephone retelling, so I wanted to see how it was done in another way. And I also read A King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair and loved it. It was one of the books that really helped me get through the end of last year. So I was just like, if there's any author to really get me in that Hades Persephone mood for an actual novel and not just a graphic novel, it's going to be Scarlett St. Clair, because I do just like how she writes her fantasy romance. It's just very simple, to the point, with all the tension and just good times, you know, just good times. And so I started reading that, and I also just appreciated that it was also like a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone. So Persephone has a cell phone, Hades runs a nightclub. It's a lot more fun, you know, a lot more fun, modern and chill, even though they talk still as though it's like back in the day, but that just might have to do with like the hierarchy of the gods and mortals and all that. Like, that just all seems like, I hear that and it just seems very old. But they have cell phones and technology and stuff, and so it's like, oh no, this is modern day. But then they use language like this. It's just some of that is not quite crossing my brain, but I'm still really enjoying this world, and it is very similar to Lore Olympus. Like I said, he runs a nightclub, and Persephone is still going to school, but she is going to school for journalism. And what I like about this Persephone is, first of all, each character is different than Lore Olympus. Like, that's how retellings happen. Like, different people tell them different ways. And so this Hades is a lot more like the Hades we all know, the like dark, mysterious, brooding dude, versus the Lore Olympus one, who is just kind of like a bumbling fool a little bit. And that is something that I really love about Lore Olympus, because he just is confused, and he's just kind of like a little, he's like a little soft pocket or stuff. Like, how he's just so cute. And there's just moments where I'm like, how are you like one of the like top 3 gods and you're still just so naive and just precious? And I think Lore Olympus captures that very well, versus like, because A Touch of Darkness does only follow one perspective, and we're reading from Persephone's perspective, but she doesn't know about Hades. We don't know about Hades, even though other people are telling her things about him that put him in a brighter, happier light. She's not trying to believe it. Meanwhile, me over here, I'm like, yep, yep, he does care about animals, and you know, he's a good guy to have on your side. So there is that. I do wish we got to hear from Hades' perspective, which was something that I had also wanted from a King of Battle. I said it right the first time. A King of Battle and Blood. I also wanted to hear from Adrian's perspective. If I'm correct, I believe his name was Adrian. I could be wrong though. Just know that I also wanted to know the male's perspective then as well. So that is just something that I do wish that this author did. Persephone is still a student in this retelling, but she's a journalism student. And what I like about the spirit of this Persephone is that she is far more rebellious and willing to be rebellious to her mother's face. Like, there's been a few times where she has like snapped and just like told her mom the truth or about something, or not the truth, but like just snapped at her mom, and she's like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. But I'm over here like, go off, sis, let her know, because you know, in Lore Olympus, that Persephone is a lot more demure. Like, I don't want to cause any trouble. I just want to get by. I just want to make my mom happy so that I don't have to go back home. And this one is just like, I want to roll under the radar, but also I'm not going to let anyone step on me. And so I do actually really appreciate that in her spirit. She does do some dumb things that I had to like remind myself, okay, like, let's think about it. She has been locked away with her mom hidden for so long. There is a lot about the gods and Olympus that she doesn't quite understand. You're gonna have to learn someday. You're gonna have to do better, okay? So yeah, this is a great first book to start off with. It is very chill. Now, I do not have a Thrillathon TBR, so I don't know what I'll be reading next, but a lot of the books that are on my radar are like actual novels, so I do need to find myself a audiobook that I want to read this week. So that I can switch the format. I thought I would want to like read a Kindle book, but there are just so many physical books that I have that I want to pick up. So maybe I'll do a like back and forth between the physical and the digital Kindle book, or I will just listen to an audiobook. I'm not quite sure yet, but yeah, so far, Touch of Darkness, that's where we're at. It is the end of day 2 now, and I just wanted to update you all on my progress with Thrillathon. The only prompt that I have completed today was to treat myself. I got some crumble, and even though they messed up one of the cookies that I had got, I was supposed to get the dulce de leche, and they just gave me a plain pink frosting one, which I don't understand how that mistake happened, but that is okay. I have another cookie. I have another cookie that was just for me. But yeah, it is the end of day 2. I still did treat myself, so that prompt is officially checked off. I have 3 prompts checked off now. The free space, shout out to that free space. The treat yourself, and I joined sprints. I joined Lucy's sprints yesterday, and then I hosted my own today, which was great. I also, reading update wise, as you guys know, I am reading A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I am on page 218, so a little bit less than 200 pages left. I am just going to finish out this chapter tonight. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. And then go to sleep, because I will have to wake up early tomorrow, and I'm actually thoroughly enjoying it. I have a feeling that this is exactly what I needed coming out of Lore Olympus Volume 3, because I'm just like, I just want more Hades and Persephone. So this is a great to really satisfy that craving that I am having for their story. And so I kind of want to prolong continuing with the rest of the series, because I'm like, what am I going to do when Volume 4 comes out and I have to wait for the volume after that? Because best believe I'm going to be waiting on bated breath, or however that saying goes. But yeah, I am enjoying this. Like I said, I do love this Persephone's and how she's willing to snap at people. It's great. So far, the only character that I can't stand, absolutely cannot stand, is Adonis. I don't trust smiling motherfuckers. I've talked to you guys about this before. I don't trust a smiling motherfucker. I don't trust them at all. When you smile too much or you're just too nice, I don't trust it, because you're hiding something. Listen, this theory has never stirred me wrong. I'll just say that. And then, of course, I don't apparently her name is Menthe. I've just been pronouncing it Menth because, what do I know? That's another thing. For these names, I don't usually like to say the character names for Greek mythology retelling, because I forget how to pronounce their names. And I don't know, I feel yeah,
I just rather not. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with these letters together. But yeah, like I said, the only character I can't stand is Adonis. Hades and Persephone have made some moves that I'm very in the Scarlet St. Clair fashion. The will they, won't they, passionate kiss moments. Like, it's everything a fantasy romance girly needs. So thank you, Miss Scarlet. Appreciate you. Next up, I did pick up the audiobook for The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. I don't know how to handle this for a vlog, because while I want everyone to go into this book the way I did, because you'll just be pleasantly surprised along the way like I was, and it's been really nice. I literally went into this book knowing absolutely nothing except for the fact that Tiffany D. Jackson wrote it and that it is inspired by Carrie by Stephen King. Also, in her dedication, she dedicated it to herself, and it was so cute. She said, "This is for me. For the little girl in pigtails who went running to the TV whenever her favorite horror movie came on, doing the absolute unimaginable when so many doubted her dreams, including herself. Looking at you, Tiff Todd. Look at you now." We love a cute moment, but I love this. I love this for her. Also, it made me happy because it sounded like it's more so inspired by the movie, or at least like she really loved the movie, so I can see how it'd be like more so inspired by that than the book, which I have seen the movie for Carrie. I have not read the book, probably never will read the book, but I have watched the movie before. I think once or twice. Basically, it came on the TV and I was like, oh, I've never watched this. And then I feel like I've done it continuously throughout the years. Like whenever I see it on TV, I'll just pick up wherever the movie is at when I find it, versus like the first time I watched it all the way through. Doesn't matter. Loving this. So I will actually give a synopsis for it. But here's me saying, go in blind, friend. It's great. The Weight of Blood, it is told through like different formats. So there is a podcast element. There are different POVs, all surrounding this prom, in which all but two senior class mates, people in the senior class. Anyways, two people that attended the prom, only those two have survived it, and their only thing that they will share is that Madison did it. And Madison, for all intents and purposes, is our Carrie. This book grapples with racism, and the dark history that is the United States and segregation. So Madison is actually mixed with white and black, but she actually passes for white, and her dad is her white parent. She does not know anything about her mom, and her dad is extremely racist. So I would say, honestly, content warning, okay? Her parent is racist and hates the fact that his child is mixed with black. That, out of everything, is like the hardest for me to read. Not to mention, like, in other perspectives, we're literally listening to people say racist ass things or microaggressions, which is just so annoying. And I would say, like, that is, if anything, that is the part that is like taking me a minute to get through the book, because I'm just angry. I'm just so angry and mad at other characters. For example, there is a character, Kenny, who is black, but he's like the cool black guy. Like, he's some football type. I forget. He could be quarterback, lineman, I don't know. But he's some football star in the school. And yeah, the fact that he is able to be popular and black, that like he's not willing to, he just allows so many microaggressions happen around me. And there was one of his thoughts where he was like, I just ignore it when they say the N-word because yeah, it's in all of our favorite songs. And I was like, oh no, sir, we will not ever let anybody, let alone someone claiming to be your friend, get away or get a pass for saying the N-word. Like, so yeah. The only character in this book that I actually there's a few characters I really feel for. Of course, Madison, Maddie, and the teacher. I forget the teacher's name actually. But she is very kind, and of course in Carrie there are characters that are kind. There are characters that do try to be there for Carrie. But ultimately how the story goes, it's not enough, and everyone has their breaking point. So it's very interesting to have like this podcast element as well, because they are going over the events. Like there's this huge mystery of what caused the events of the prom. The prom went up in smokes, huge fire, killed the entire senior class besides 2 survivors. And a hint, not from me, but from the book, I said Carrie. Madison might be a survivor. That there's like conspiracy theories that the podcast brings up, and Madison surviving the incidents is one of them. And honestly, I just want to know who all survived. We got the name of one survivor. I want to know who the other survivor is, and I want to know, did Maddie make it? Okay. I have gotten to the end of part 1 for this one, so I'm definitely excited to continue on. But I do need to go to sleep because I need to wake up early tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's all for now, friends. I will speak to you all tomorrow. But just to recap, again, end of day 2, and I'm actually really enjoying both of these reads. Part 1 for this book ended, and I was like, I don't want to stop. I need to know what more. Like, it ended in such a great way that I'm like, I need to know more. This is also just the stunning cover. And between these 2 books, when I do finish them, I'm hopefully to finish at least one of them tomorrow. I will have finished, between these 2 books, I will have finished 5 of the reading prompts. It is the end of day 3 now. I was literally about to get ready for bed, and I was like, gosh, I didn't update the vlog. It's okay, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's about to be a busy day, so forgive me if I do not end up vlogging tomorrow. So I did watch Hocus Pocus today for movie night. It was so great. It's just so cute. I love it. It did a very good job, in my opinion, of melding like more modern times things with the like nostalgic field of Hocus Pocus 1. The overall message at the end, beautiful. The sisters bond, and I think that's something that I did love about the first Hocus Pocus, is that even though these Sanderson sisters were like the bad guys, they were the villains,
you can't help but root for them. They're just so funny and like goofy, and you gotta stand. You gotta stand, especially Sarah Jessica Parker's character. Like we love. She's just so. Honestly, all three are just such great depictions of just like a goofy yet powerful villain to be defeated. And it was just goofy yet powerful villain to be defeated, and it's just so funny. And I loved Hocus Pocus 2 as well. You know, those musical things added, loved it. So I did knock out with that the prompt for spooky movie, but also reading wise, all I could really do was read the audiobook for The Weight of Blood, which I do have next to me here, and I did complete it. I did finish it. This book right here, Tiffany, 5 stars once more. And it's just 5 stars for so many different reasons. So let's get into it. First of all, I loved, of course, the commentary within this book of forcing people to realize the history oftentimes, and I really am referencing the US in this sense because that's the only thing I can really reference. Like, this is where I was born and raised, but the US loves to hide its history and its past and act as though it is not something that impacts our present. And I loved how this book explored the fact that there are still modern day things or even like current things that have happened. Like, history is something that isn't old. And I know, like, oftentimes when you think of history, you think of like, oh, that happened so long ago. Well, what happened so long ago also has impacts on the present, and not to mention many practices from history are still occurring. They're just because, like, for example, I live in Washington State, like I mentioned, especially a more liberal part of Washington, so it can be very easy to disassociate with I'm still Black in America, so it's not that easy to disassociate with the narrative that history is in the past. But it is easy to think like, okay, certain things that are just so explicitly racist don't really occur anymore, you know, like segregation. And yet to read a book that reflects on events that occurred, in this book at least, reflects on a town having to desegregate their prom in 2014. I have no doubt in my mind that that is something that occurs, especially just with all that I have learned recently and the dedication, author note, and everything that Tiffany, again, love Tiffany D. Jackson specifically for this reason. Like, she writes with the purpose that I can't help but admire, even when it makes me like angry and sad and just rage is very, like, that's very much synonymous with anger, but like the amount of vehement rage I felt, especially towards the end of this book, they feel like different things. Like, at the beginning of the book, I was angry from the microaggression and just explicit racism that occurs, but towards the end, I was just like, rage. I was like, Maddie, burn it down. Burn it all down. I do not care anymore. Let them know. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. It's a 5 stars for me. Honestly, the one part in this book that really had me like choked up, ready to cry, did have to do with Kenny. So that was a huge character development in my investment in the character, and that to me just showed the huge character development that Kenny as a character went through, because I went from being like, oh, I can't stand him. I went from being like, oh, he annoys the crap out of me, to being like, okay, I just don't trust you, sir.
I can't get a read on you to like actually being so emotionally invested in his character to where I was near tears when something happened to him. And so yeah, this book is just so great. As I mentioned before, again, I do believe I mentioned there are just so many different elements to this book, especially when you read the audiobook or listen to the audiobook, having that podcast element, having the multicast perspective, and the book follows multiple POVs, but then having within the audiobook those actually being narrated by different people as well. And I don't know if I imagine things or not, but there was one scene in particular that happens towards the end of the book that is is it the officer reporting or a news event? I believe it was an officer reporting something, like on a recording of an officer reporting something, and I swear on everything I heard someone cough in the background, and I said, oh, this is this. I'm like and again, I don't know if this is just something that I heard. I don't know if this is something that I imagined, or maybe this is something I heard, like maybe my mom coughed and I did have my headphones in at the moment, so maybe I just thought it was a part of the book. But if it really was somebody coughing in the background for that setting, go off, audio team. Whoever did the audiobook, go off. You did so good. It's just such an immersive reading experience, especially with the audiobook. I was just fully immersed in the experience, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, oh, and the way I was just rooting for Maddie and figuring out her story, especially when they alluded to like not knowing whether or not Maddie survived. I was like, if she better survive. she better survive. And it just also just depicts not that I have experience in this, but that small town setting. I mean, in high school, my town was pretty small, but that small town setting, particularly when it comes to like growing up in a town with such a huge history in the civil rights movement, and not being on the side of progress or Black people being given rights that that we should have already had. It's just things like this just get me very heated, and I'm trying so hard. Like, I equally don't have the energy because I'm literally I'm about to go to bed and just don't have the energy because like this is my life. And I'm just so sick of and this is something that was prevalent in the book when it comes to certain characters, but this narrative that racism is dead, and that, oh, it was just a joke. You took it too, you're like, why are you taking a joke too seriously? You're racist. And when you go to the extent that you did, in which it is just such a harmful racist act, and I know that that's kind of a redundant saying because racism in and of itself is quite harmful, but just the attack that these people and the maliciousness of these people towards Maddie just had me ready to be like Maddie. So yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed this book, and the messaging behind this book, it's a good one. Yeah, it's just so well done. And oh my god, spoiler alert, this is going to be very quick, but I just have to say real quick, again, spoiler alert. Okay, the fact that Maddie actually received her telepathic abilities from her father's side instead of her mother, I feel like that is such a specific and beautiful detail that Tiffany D. Jackson has added into the story, because the entire time you hear her father saying I'm like that he's afraid that Maddie is going to be just like her, just like her, just like her. And so you assume it's her mother this whole time. And of course, from like other media or other books, it's like, yeah, the black mom, like the black woman or the black parent, is the one that had the magical abilities. And really what he feared was the destruction of this ability. And that destruction was from her white side. Like, that was something that she inherited from her white father and her white grandmother. So I just thought that was so beautifully done, because first of all, it goes against what your initial perceptions of who he feared are, but it also is just like, it kind of challenges you of like, do you have a bias of just expecting like the chaos to come from her black parent and like be something that she inherited from her black side? Well done, Miss Jackson. Did great. Okay. And I love that there were so many parts of this story that were a surprise to me, even having the background of even knowing the Carrie story from the movie. And of course, maybe those that read the book might think otherwise. But just having the background of watching the movie and then reading the book, and what some of my expectations were for characters that I could kind of be like, oh, that's kind of like this character from the movie, and trying to, but then adding that plot line of race and racism and I was going to say the dark history. It's just a history. The history of America in and of itself is quite dark. With that being said, this book in and of itself knocked out 3 prompts for me. And as I showed you guys before, I did get a package today, in which, first of all, I received a lovely gift from Simone from Beyond Bookish for my birthday. So thank you so much, Simone. I can't wait to read this book, and I gotta read it soon, because it's definitely in the October spirit, and we don't have that much. Well, we have a week left after Thrillathon, so maybe I'll read this in like the final week of October. But on top of that, right on, like, the book that Simone got me was like right on top of this package, which I was like, oh, did they split my order? They did not. Thank you so much, Simone. I was actually genuinely surprised to receive it. But I did also get sheets by, who is this way? Brianna Thumler. And I'm going to count oh my God, it's in color? I did not know this graphic novel was in color. I stand. There are not a lot of words in here. Oh, this is, wow. Okay. But yeah, this will... Oh, I was like, I did not get this from Barnes & Noble. I'm getting distracted. I'm sorry. But yeah, got sheets today. I will be counting this towards my buddy reads, and so many people are reading sheets and are chatting about it in the Discord. I will go ahead and add my thoughts on it once I read it. And this might happen tomorrow. It might happen Friday. as you have noticed, I didn't really update any more clips and any more reads that I was reading. On the final day, I was like, if I had stopped at all to vlog, I was not going to finish. I was not going to hit blackout, and I wanted that blackout so bad, to the point to where when I finally finished my final book, I damn near did blackout. I was just so tired, and it all really started with like tiredness and just not having energy at the end of the night after I had a work event on, was it Wednesday or Thursday? I definitely don't remember now. But let's just get into it. So the first book that I finished is Weight of Blood, which I did discuss. Loved that. Loved the audiobook for it. And the podcast elements. It was great. I love that book so much. Next up, I finished Touch of Darkness, which is a Hades and Persephone's retelling. This book I gave 4 stars. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to continue with this series or trilogy, whatever the hell it is. I feel like it's a perfect thing to really curve me over while I wait for the Lore Olympus volumes to come out, and it's just great. The atmosphere, just all of it just feels really cozy while also giving some like Hades and Persephone's feel. I don't know. I just really like it. And I've come to realize that Scarlett St. Clair's writing has somehow become like a source of comfort for me. I can't tell you why. Prior to reading Touch of Darkness, I did read King of Wrath and Strum, King of Blood and Battle and Blood, King of Battle and Blood. Blood and Battle, but king of something. He was the king of something, and that was a real comfort read for me at the end of the year. Didn't really have to think about anything. Could just read and enjoy, and I did very much enjoy. And that's kind of how I felt about A Touch of Darkness. I can just read and enjoy it. Didn't really take too much of like my brain power. I could just relax and read, and in that way, Scarlett St. Clair's writing is just very comforting to me. And I can't wait to continue on with this series. I think starting off with the 4 stars is really good. Can't wait to continue on. And I heard that in one of the books, I don't remember which one, it actually is from Hades' perspective. And one thing about the King book, whose name I cannot remember, and A Touch of Darkness, is that I found myself wanting to hear the male's perspective in both books and both novels. And so the fact that one of these books in the series, or maybe a companion series of it, I genuinely don't know, but at some point I get Hades' perspective, and that is the perspective I want to read. Next, I read the graphic novel Sheets. I thought that this was also really cozy and cute, and the story behind it, the little sheet who had a hard time getting taking a bath, my heart, my feels, it was that sad comfort. It hit the heartstrings, and it was so sad in certain points, but also just cozy. It gave a very autumnal feel. I gave this one 4 stars as well, I believe. Next up, I read Uzumaki by Junji Ito. I thoroughly enjoyed. I believe I actually gave this one 5 stars, and if I didn't, I meant to. 5 stars. Uzumaki, that was wow. I don't even know how to describe it. Yes, was I terrified? Absolutely. Was I horrified? No doubt. Was it still so cool? How? This was the one out of his deluxe editions that really had me this man really had multiple story ideas about freaking spirals. And they were good for the most part. They were I genuinely enjoyed a lot of them. And I was just he's one of those authors that I'm just I want to see inside your head. I need to know what is going on. And so, yeah, I really, really enjoyed Uzumaki, and I was not expecting to, but I thought I was going to be a lot more scared than I would enjoy the stories or enjoy the deluxe edition and the multiple chapters within it. I thought it would just be okay, and it would be fine, because I had noticed before when I was reading more Junji Ito closer together that it was all starting to blend together, honestly, and I was just okay, yeah, they're great, but when reading a new one, I'd be yeah, it's great, but it's nothing different like my feelings haven't really changed from like other books, and I kind of hit like a plateau. That's the word, a plateau, when it came to like Junji Ito's stories. I don't know if it's because I had a gap between the last Junji Ito story collection that I read or what, but this just felt so great. I think Uzumaki might be one of, if not my favorite, of Junji Ito's books, and I read it quite quickly. It looks like one of those like hefty brick tomes of Junji Ito's. Like, it's slightly smaller than Tomi, but also slightly larger than Kyo. So it kind of seems like it's going to be quite a bit of time, but I honestly just ate those stories up and finished the book in a matter of hours. I think I had like one more story left after I hopped off Sprints, and I actually really enjoyed them. I remember going into one of the stories and being like, I feel like this is going to be one of the stories that I don't really care too much for, and I still was able to be like, but this was actually a good story. So if your worst is still good, that says something. So shout out to Junji Ito for Uzumaki, because this one was both horrifying and just great stories. Like, I really enjoyed the stories in this one. And finally, the final book that I read was Music of Night. This by Angela Ford. I gave this one a 3.5. It is a Phantom of the Opera inspired fantasy romance with a black girl main character, which, again, if you know of any fantasy romance books with a main character who is black, please let your girl know. I would love to read it. Fantasy and romance are one of my favorite genres. Put them together. Fantasy, romance, 3 favorite genres right there. If I can get a main character, a black girl main character in a fantasy romance, that would be so great. I got it this time. It had such great atmosphere. Like, that is one thing. Like, it just had amazing atmosphere. There was points where I felt like I could actually hear the music, or I felt like in the middle of winter in a castle in like whatever time period Belle and them is around. But like, I felt it. Like, it had great atmosphere. However, it was just so fast. It moved so quickly, and in that regard, I somehow lost focus. Like, it was moving faster than my mind could focus, and so while I would still be mentally in my mind, like in the room with the crisp winter air breeze coming through the window, and the main character would already be on stage somewhere, and I'm like, where? How? And yeah, it just moved quickly. It also did something which I'm realizing this is not the first author to do it. I'm starting to feel like maybe this is just something that's very common with authors. I don't like when mysteries, if you're not a mystery novel, let's put it that way. If you're not a mystery novel, I need you to answer the mystery quicker. like, if the mystery is gonna be, yeah, I just don't know. I don't understand how maybe it's the pacing, because I don't know how the story was moving so fast, and I kind of was just like thrown all over the place with it, and yet I never quite understood what was going on. I was like, it was one of those books that were just like, there's a mystery and it's like right in front of you, but it doesn't give you the specifics, so you just like, there's this mystery surrounding this character, and I just waited all book for it to be told to us, especially considering we get that character's perspective. Like, I just feel like I should have known more than I did about it, and because I knew nothing. But I'm also realizing that could just be like the Phantom of the Opera inspired part of it. Like, you don't really know what's going on with the Phantom until he wants you to know, which I just mentioned. I don't like it when I know there's a mystery and you just are hanging it in my, like, behind my peripheral vision. It's like driving and somebody's driving in your blind spot and you're like, can you move? So let's check out the bingo board. Oh, I don't know what anything counts. If you're wondering how my board went, the fall setting one, I tried to read outside. I forgot how much I hate the cold. I was outside for all of one page, reading all of one page of music of night and was like, oh no, I will sit by the fire. I will sit by the unlit fire in a blanket if I can go inside. I did not like that at all. And with that, my Thrillathon had officially ended. I absolutely adore Thrillathon and I hope you all had fun during it. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As it is a vlog, I don't have to do my whole spiel, but if you did enjoy the video, please subscribe, comment down below I'm sticking to the same question I had. If you have any romance fantasy recommendations with a black main character, black female main character, let a girl know. And that is all for this vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed Thrillathon. I hope you enjoyed this vlog. Bye guys.